Hello and welcome to our video on the new features in our AI filter program. This is version 2, Professional. We'll mainly be looking at the professional version here. Today I want to show you our new additions, all the new features in the program and where you can find them. We've made some big improvements in the raw module. There's a watermark module which you can use to add your logo to your image, a transparent graphic that you can position and save with the picture. We have new modules in focus peaking, which you can find up here. You can also switch the optimization assistant on. There are 20 new filters in expert mode. There's lots to discover there. We have new presets in the light and drawing areas and in the other categories. So there's lots of new additions in all the different areas. In the view area, there are new configuration options for setting separator lines and colors for more customization. So colors for the captions and text, like the headings in the individual blocks up there. Those are all the general enhancements which we're going to leave for now, because ultimately this program is all about being able to train our own AI filters, that is image filters that we define with before and after images, and then train ourselves and apply to other photos. If we go to our database and open it up, we can see that there are already lots of new filters, pre-trained filters that we've made for you to give you some ideas and inspiration. Let's pick one out. Let's take the light effect window and have a look at it. On our image, we can now see an incidence of light from a window. This was trained using a before image, which we can see here, and an after image. It was pre-trained in a neural network, and we're now applying it to a new image. And that's the real strength of this software. You can make all these filters to apply yourself with the aid of artificial intelligence. How does that work? A quick recap. Let's reset the filter. Now we have our before image. That's our original image, what the image looked like before, and we have a congruent after image. We can also see it here in the comparison view. The idea is that the AI network now learns how we took the image on the left and made it into the image on the right. To do that, we can change all kinds of things. We know that from the first part of the program. There are major enhancements there, which we'll look at in a moment. First, I want to add one of our really big new features, which is the division of iterations. What are iterations? They're the cycles that this kind of neural network performs during training. It's incremental training to turn the before image into the after image. Let's just take another quick look to refresh our memories. Let's leave everything on the default settings. Now let's say the division should be very intensive. There are 4 levels to set. A very high division means the individual cycles are broken down into very little pieces, so we get a faster result. It speeds up the training a lot if we move this division to the right, if we set it to a higher mode. Let's say we want to do 100 cycles, but with the very high division, that'll be really fast. Let's click train. The calculation starts straight away. After 100 cycles, this is our result. Not that convincing yet. But as I said at the start, an AI network, a neural network, needs a lot of training cycles to learn gradually. Let's add another 100 training cycles. Each takes about 4 seconds. That's already getting a bit better. We can now see the light glow in the middle already. The colors aren't quite as good yet. And that's it. We keep training the network gradually. And this division ensures that the whole process is really fast. You'll notice when I click it, these 100 iterations are calculated very quickly. If we reset that now and take a slightly more complex filter, a more difficult one, let's take light effect red. There we can see on the left a slightly more complex distribution of light. It's a bit brighter here. Down here is a bit more yellow, and over on the right there's a bit of light too. This brings us right to the additions further down. But before I can train the filter, this one's already fully trained. Let's reset it so we can train our own one. We're just using this filter as an example. You could put any other before and after images in here. But I now want to focus on this position grid, which allows us, if we put the before and after images back into the comparison view, to train very complex gradients like the one on this side. We can set this position grid to various levels of accuracy. As we learned in version 1, the further right we go, the more demanding the calculation gets. I'll use the lowest setting for the position grid and do the same training as last time with this filter. 100 iterations, default settings for the rest. Low training rate, funnel shape, and gradients generally switched on. So that's another 100 cycles, but this time with a position grid. Now we can see that after just 100 iterations, the light gradient on the left is coming through well. Of course, we can still improve it. To a certain extent, you can keep training these networks indefinitely. Maybe another 100 iterations, and we've already got a very good result. After just 11.8 seconds, which we see here in training time. So the process really is very quick, even for making more complex gradients. If we let it run a little longer, we get this red light effect. That one took 2086 iterations. After 8 minutes and 23 seconds of training, we have a complex filter that we can apply to any image. And this light structure was made possible by the different position grids, which were trained here with size 4, the second level. Let's reset that and go back down. That's this level, level 4. Below that is another new function called Fourier features. These Fourier features provide frequency decomposition for the image. They can be used to train very fine structures, fine light structures. For instance, if we go to the preset category light, we can see these ready-made effects. So the Fourier features actually let us train light bokehs or very complex light incident structures. It's a bit more intensive than the position grid for complex gradients. These are the fine structures here. Maybe you could remember it like position grid for complex gradients, Fourier features for fine structures. And these two are not the only new features. Here we have even larger image blocks that you can use to map more complex sharpness and denoising and more intense details. To reduce the processing time caused by these larger image blocks, there are 2 new layer shapes for these neural networks. Neural networks are structured in layers. The first layer is always the whole set of training objects you put in. And then this information is further and further compressed. These shapes determine the speed of this compression. If we go further left, the calculation gets faster and the network gets smaller. In return, however, slightly less complex things can be learned. The further right you go, the longer the training takes and the more complex the things that can be learned. Let's just keep looking through the filters for a minute. Let's choose Portrait Deep. It's a completely different image look that we've created here. Now we just have to restore the preset to the original image. So this, I'm holding down the right mouse button, was our original image. And this now applies the pre-trained portrait filter with the name Deep, which we created from these 2 training images. On the left is the original image. On the right, we can see our desired result. That was learned with exactly the same settings you see here, and the result is this filter. There's a second video in this series where we look at the workflow in a bit more detail, specifically when we have our before and after images, what choices we have to make. Let's reset that again briefly. Which settings are the right ones? Which are effective? How do we identify what we need to configure to train our filter appropriately? So I might see you over there. In the meantime, take care and see you soon.